estamos en la exposición de Juego de Tronos que se celebra en IFEMA desde el 26 de octubre y tenemos aquí a un invitado de excepción, bueno, más que invitado, un anfitrión, Isaac Hempstead Wright. So Isaac, we are surrounded by a lot of the kingdoms that were in the show, but Bran was mostly in the north throughout the 8 seasons. So is there any kingdom or location that you regret not having explored while you were shooting?
All of the warm ones. I wish I could have gone anywhere warm. That would have been great. Yeah, places like Dawn, that looked really nice. Yeah, Dornish wine, nice beaches. I'd have been up for that.
And although the show ended like almost 6 months ago, do you still feel that Game of Thrones is alive?
It's a good question. I mean, for us, we finished filming over a year ago, well over a year ago actually. And so that was when it kind of felt like it had finished, but then it came out and it was like, oh, this hasn't finished, and then it felt like it had finished. And the thing is, I think because of the scope of Game of Thrones and how popular it has been, it will always live on. It's not like it's just going to suddenly disappear. It's something. It's kind of become one of the seminal works of television. It's pretty serious. In the same way that you talk about films, you're like, oh, you have to see this, because those are the great films. I think Game of Thrones will probably be regarded in that kind of bracket, and so that means that it won't ever really fade away. People will continue to discover it, rediscover it, rewatch it. There'll still be chatter about it. They'll still be talking about it, and so I don't think you've seen the last Game of Thrones for a long while.
What do you think that is the legacy of Game of Thrones? Or what would you like it to be?
Very good question. I mean, I think the legacy of Game of Thrones is really putting an emphasis on great storytelling, and I think that's where it has really changed television. It's forced people to really think. It doesn't treat the audience like idiots. It doesn't spoon feed you anything. You really have to think when you're watching it, and it's really a process of engagement with the material. And so I think that will be the legacy, and I hope that's what other shows will take from it. I think what is almost a shame is the fact that Game of Thrones is really going to be one of the last big shows that you have to watch week in, week out. You know, all people do now is just watch everything in one day, and I think that really detracts from it. I think one of the reasons Game of Thrones became so popular was because every week people would get to work and talk about it, and they'd theorize about it, and they'd have to wait a week thinking, God, what's going to happen next? Or, no, I don't like that character, I like that character. Whereas now, if you just watch it all in one day, you don't, none of that dialogue really exists anymore. You just say, oh yeah, I saw that, I like this, cool. You know, so I hope that's something that, and you can see, I think it's starting to swing back now to things being released in a staggered way, because it's a better way to consume television, I think.
Even Apple and Disney are going to release weekly, and I think it's interesting because some of the things that have built Game of Thrones, I think, is social media and all the reactions, and it was really funny seeing, like, in the 8th season how people reacted to Bran, like embracing that sense of humor that he had. So how did you live all those memes, all those reactions in the season? You even asked for them in Twitter.
Yeah, I loved them. All my friends would just be sending me really funny memes. They still do occasionally. Someone pops up and is like, oh, look at this meme of you. I mean, memes now appear to be the way we, a kind of cornerstone of this generation's culture, for better or for worse. And so to be one of them is pretty cool. I'll take that. I'm pretty happy with that.
And reading your Hollywood Reporter guest column when the show ended, you said that you thought it was a joke that Bran ended up being king. So what was your dream ending for Bran?
Good question. I mean, if I had to think of a dream ending, I think it probably would have been becoming king. I think I did really have the dream ending, but I certainly didn't think that was what was actually going to happen. So yeah, I don't. The thing is, I can remember trying to think what might happen to Bran, and I couldn't think of anything. I thought every time I'd come up with a theory, then I'd think, oh no, well that won't happen. By the end of season 7, I really had no idea how they were going to end it.
And the interesting thing about Bran is that season after season, it was like he gradually lost his sense of humanity. He's like a Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen or something like that. So how was it to play a character like that?
It's difficult. You have to try and find the balance between keeping him interesting, because characters that are omniscient like that and just know everything can quickly become very dull because they just sit there in the corner, telling everyone that they know everything. So we wanted to keep a bit of weirdness and a bit of mystery about Bran, but at the same time make sure that there was something that people could latch onto and some kind of spark within him that people wanted to, that made people want to continue watching him and that made people invested in his story.
And on that guest column, you also said that your parents had to face like a 6-year contract from HBO. And where do you think you would be right now if your parents had been afraid of the contract?
That is a very good question. I don't know. I really don't know. Probably just at home, none the wiser. I don't know. Maybe Game of Thrones wouldn't have been as successful without me. We'd never even have heard of it.